Welcome back here for another episode of Panthers vs. the World. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We greatly appreciate all the support. It means a lot. Means a lot to me, our producer Joel. Thank you as always for helping us out here, and shout out to you, man. Your work is greatly appreciated. Um, Jeremy, where do you want to start? I think we all know where we want to start, but before that, I just want to say it's just unfathomable to be 2 wins away, and to have it kind of tainted by the general sentiment on the internet and so many other stuff that are surrounding it that we'll get into. Kind of sucks. I mean, this is like a historic run here, and hopefully we can finish the job. There's still a lot of work left to be done, but like in this, when this was happening, like last year, I kind of was trying to take the Panthers mentality this year of staying in the moment and just enjoying the ride and everything. And we were talking about before, I'm fired up to do this here. Every bone in my body is pissed off at what I've been reading, which I never let internet comments really get to me, because that's truthfully all they are, just people on the internet who are saying dumb things like I've done plenty of times. But I mean, it's crazy out there right now. I don't even know what word to describe it. But yeah, you drive the bus. If you want to start somewhere, feel free.
I think we should go ahead and save our pissed off collective thoughts towards a little bit more in the show. Just we can all have like a group therapy session. Just get it all out there. Right now, I think we can go ahead and start with the elephant in the room here. The Florida Panthers are 2 wins away from their first Stanley Cup victory in franchise history. They're 2 wins away.
Trigger warning to Oiler fans. Don't tell them that we're 2 wins away. It's 2-0 series lead.
The Florida Panthers, they did what we said they needed to do, and they had a rough game one. And you know what? They had a great third period, but they looked rusty. They had a rough game. I would say they had a rough period one. I would say it was solid. It looked solid. I think the first 5 minutes of the game was a decent bit controlled by Florida. But after that, it felt like Edmonton took back that control, and especially you could see, especially when the Panthers had a major power play with 5 minutes. Who again, we're gonna go in that later on because again, this is gonna be a group share
Yeah, what
therapy session of an episode.
the fourth dirtiest hit of the game, and the 5 minute major.
And so that happened. You get the 5 minute major power play right then and there. All the Panthers fans like this game's over. This series is over. And then what happens next is the Florida Panthers come out with arguably the worst 10 minutes of hockey you will possibly see them play in probably a very long time. The game one felt like it was bad, but we won that game. And this game, it felt completely lost. And then it felt like the entire series was flipping over for a minute, because for those 10 minutes, Edmonton dominated us in the power play. We had a 5 minute major power play. And tell me why the Panthers, believe they got outshot on that power play. And two, they let in a shorthanded goal, even though it wasn't a shorthanded goal because they gave up a penalty on that same power play.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like honestly, at that point in the game, I kind of disagree. Like I don't think that Edmonton even really got a foothold in the game. I think basically just the officiating in this game, in general, was so absolutely horrible. Not just from a standpoint of missing bad calls or making bad calls. Just the flow of the game was completely stopped by the officiating in general. Just so many times,
Very true.
like by the time I got home, it was like 12:30, and like my dad just said to me, he's like, "This is like the latest I can ever remember a game ending." Like, and I was like, "Yeah, it's crazy." But yeah, I mean, just the officiating was horrible. Um, yeah, so to just quickly go to the whole game, I believe there's something along the lines of only four shots on goal for Oilers forwards, either at 5v5 or total in the game, which is just amazing. Panthers completely, and I'll say it again, completely dominate the Oilers in this game, and the frustration just boiled over for the Oilers as the game continued to go on. Even in the start of the game, I mean, Warren Fogle, like, oh, buddy, what are you doing, man? Like, that was a completely deserved game misconduct. And he got every penny of that 5K fine that's going to be coming to him, because that's all he'll be getting. And then, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but of course, Oilers fans, for every hit that is ever done by one of their players, the other team apparently is not allowed to feel any pain. They have to bounce up right away, or they're called a diver, a flopper, all these things. It's very apparent to me, just looking around, that Oilers fans watch Oilers games only. I truthfully believe that. Sure, there's some of them, obviously. I'm painting a broad brush here. There's very good, smart Oilers fans, but the ones who are very what's the word I'm looking for here? Just being delusional right now with how everything is going, are being very loud all over the internet, and yeah, I mean, it's loud out there, but yeah, just to keep talking about the first period, the first kind of soft goal that Bob has let in quite some time. Um, and that was the only point in the series for Oilers forward so far, with a McDavid assist. Also, the only goal in the series so far. Yeah, I mean, if the Panthers can keep this 5-on-5, which I find hard to believe with how the series has trended and the officiating so far, clear advantage to the Panthers. Now, does that change with Barkov, which we'll get to later? I don't know, but I mean, 5-on-5, I think through two games, we know who the better team is. And I think it's really frustrating, not only the Oilers players, but the coaches, and the fans.
As you were talking to us, then I spent probably the entire time so bad with trying to get this up, but I finally got NHL.com up to go ahead and 0 for 4 power play for the Oilers. They went 0 for 4. They had 4 attempts. Panthers went 1 for 6 in the power play. 10 power plays in total called throughout the entire game. If you want to go ahead and take out the last like 2 maybe that were probably at like the end of the game, or maybe 1, I don't know how many there were. Okay, that one's not going to put count. So this one would count. This one would be taken off. So it'd basically be 5 power plays for us. If you go ahead and do that, you're left with about 9 penalties called that would affect the game. With that being said, that is way too many calls that are getting called in a Stanley Cup final game. If they're saying, okay, hey guys, this is the time when we go ahead and it's the Stanley Cup final, you can't be complaining to refs, you can't have this, you can't have that. The referees are going to be calling, they're going to be putting their whistles away, they're only going to be calling the most egregious of egregious calls. And then you come out there and the referees go ahead and they say, I'm going to make this game about me. Because 4 power plays for the Oilers and 5 for the Panthers, I'll take it. Hey, we got 5 power plays. Awesome. We should not be getting that many power plays. Neither should the Oilers be getting that many power plays.
And the
Way too
Oilers
many
think they should
calls
have
being
gotten more.
called.
Did you see how much they're whining to the refs about everything? Every call. It's unbelievable.
I mean, I completely understood. I completely understood game 1 because that Oliver Ekman-Larsson one. I'm like, okay, you know what? That should have been a penalty, and that's probably a penalty in most other like series or whatever. But you know what? They're not going to call boarding, especially when it's not that egregious of a call. In game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, hey, it's the finals. They're going to put their whistles away. They're going to let the players decide this game, and they're not going to let the refs do it. And in the refs, they did bring out the whistle for this game, and they brought it out way too many times because that entire second period felt like it was played underneath a 5-on-4 or 4-on-4 period. It did not feel like at all the flow of the game was at all it felt like way too much of it was being dictated by how the refs wanted to call this game. And I'll take it because the Panthers did benefit a little bit from the power plays,
And
but at the
and
same time,
while they did have their calling a lot of penalties, they completely lost control of this game.
they
Like
did.
early on, like in the first period, they lost control of this game. And I don't know if maybe then they tried to reel it back in, very unsuccessfully, obviously. But they completely lost control of this game.
I agree, and honestly, that's probably why when we get into it later, we saw the things that happened, especially in that third
Mm-hmm.
period. That's
100%.
what happens. We saw it happen against Boston. If the referees can't control their own game, then why do they think it's going to go ahead and get any better from here on out? It's not. So why? So why are you going to go ahead and keep bringing out the whistles? 45 penalty minutes for the Edmonton Oilers, 12 for the Panthers. You should never have or see that many penalty minutes in one game, and that's a lot of it. Of course, is being blown up by the misconducts that were handed out towards the end of the game and in the beginning of the game when as Warren Fogle went ahead and got ejected within the first 10 minutes of the game from that major penalty, which egregious hit by the way that needed to be called a major. So good job on the refs. They called that one, but in the rest of the way, you can take your whistle away. Verhey called for a trip. Okay, I get it. It's a trip and everything, but okay, come on. We don't need it. If you're not going to call other ones, just make it somewhat like understandable what you're doing. And in that entire game, it didn't feel like it was understandable how the refs are going to call the game. And I felt like that entire game, as you said, the flow was just uneven. It was just too many calls that are being called. And at times, then after in the third period, I was like, okay, here we go. We're gonna have an even third period. We're not gonna get any calls. We started losing control of the game again. It was just ridiculous in my opinion. But I've been going on this rant for a little bit too long, so I'll go ahead and switch over to the first period. But after that first period, though, the Florida Panthers really owned it, and they showed them that hey, the Panthers are still here because they completely flipped the tide of what it was in Game 1 of the Oilers dominating, and they still lost, and the Panthers were dominating, and then they were losing, and Rodriguez had another insane game. So obviously credit to Evan Rodriguez as he's worked his butt off to get here, and he is proving that the Panthers getting him at $3 million is a steal, and that he probably could have gotten more on the open market. Rodriguez has been amazing. I felt like he's been great. Nico Mikkola getting his his playoff goal in there. That was great to see. This is the second goal he scored against Edmonton this season because he had one in the regular season too. Remember that one just because I made a hype video for it. And I was like, oh, hey, Mikkola scored. That's kind of funny. And hey, Ekblad got his goal as I said he would.
Yeah, yeah. That was I was awesome moment. On that play, just what a play by Bennett, just wanting the puck more. And I think it was Evander Kane who nearly tries to snap back his head there in the same process. But I mean, just from the start of this game, this was really when the cup experience to me showed in this game. Um, it was very apparent that like you could feel that the Oilers once they were down, they really felt that this thing is slipping away, and they just completely at that point lost their head. Even and they walked into this game with already frustrated, already feeling the heat, and now you make them fly all the way back, long flight to Edmonton, make them think about everything. I love it. I love where the Panthers are. As we could talk about in a little bit here, I'm sure that it's not the best spot for the Panthers because of extenuating circumstances. But I mean, through two games, the style of play and everything, I have no complaints. Bob, incredible again after that first goal. Just fantastic, and really for him, pretty much in every game of the playoffs, the Panthers have just carried the pace of play, and he's had to stay focused. And it's obviously tough to do, not only for him, but just in general. And this game, whenever they came back the other way, he was ready. Another key moment in the game. I know McDavid was at the end of his shift, but Kachuk chasing down McDavid on that breakaway, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought I was dreaming. Like, I don't know how that happened.
The man
Kachuk,
that I have criticized so many times to say if I ever see him on a breakaway ever again, and then I see Kachuk chasing down Connor
I couldn't
McDavid,
believe
the
it.
fastest player in the world, to go
He was
ahead.
exhausted, but he still got him. I don't care how
I
exhausted he was. He was on his spot.
I don't care if he was exhausted or what. I'm taking that moment. I'm gonna go ahead and carry it to the grave. That was an amazing play, but amazing player. Because Matthew Kachuk, that was just insane. You don't really talk. You don't ever hear about him playing defense because in reality, his defense is a little bit subpar because a lot of his value comes from how amazing of an offensive player he is. he's just such a great play driver. And then last night, you go ahead and you see him bring out the defensive stick at him, and he goes ahead and stops a great opportunity for Connor McDavid, which also nice little play by Bob to go ahead and get make sure that the puck doesn't go in the net. Just playing his position, but Matthew Tkachuk did everything correctly there. He didn't take a penalty. He was able to disrupt them, get him off his groove, and everything that he did to go ahead and make sure that Connor McDavid could not do a Connor McDavid like stunt and pull off an amazing trick out of his bag of infinite tricks that he has and score on Bob, because Matthew Tkachuk just played unbelievable. I thought, for everything we've said, that like, he could be injured, Matthew Tkachuk played one of the greatest games he's played all playoffs long. No points to really show for, I don't think, but it was just a terrific game for Matthew Tkachuk.
And speaking of terrific games, I mean this Listerine line has been dominant.
Yes.
They have been all over the ice, flying around, making defensive plays, and now bringing the offense and getting Mikola involved. And like this is just like the role players right now are stepping up. Like Evan Rodriguez, like you said, a guy you bring in this year, stepping up so big in the two biggest games of his life. Um, Actually, I don't know if you saw this, tied now for the most goals through two games for a player in his first two Stanley Cup final games, tied with
Wow.
like 12 other guys. Like they all have three goals. But like elite names on this, like Brind'Amour Moore on there. I forget who else, but just awesome for him to be on there since the expansion era, since like '68. But just incredible. Mikola signing this year, stepping up. I really feel like Tarasenko has clicked with that line with Listerine and Lundell, and they whatever he's giving them in coaching advice, wisdom, and his play has been awesome too, driving the net for the Mikola goal. He's been fantastic, I think, even though he's not producing. Can you hear me? Okay, all right. Anyway, so
Yeah, that issue. Sorry.
no worries, no worries. But yeah, he's been fantastic. Um, the Lundell has been awesome, and now he may have to step up again. But I mean, just so proud of this Panthers team. And also, honestly, like all things considered, everything that happened, and I'm sure that if you ask an Oilers fan, they'll have a different opinion. I think they've done the infinitely better job of calculated whist after the whistle and keeping their cool and knowing how to manage the moment and what they can and can't get away with. And they've done it expertly. And it's just frustrating the Oilers beyond belief, to the point where they're out here actively trying to injure players. And it's apparent. And if we want to, transition to that, or if you want to give the Panthers some more flowers, I'm totally comfortable with both because this team has just made me so proud. Honored right now to be a fan after just so many years of garbage, to just be stepping up like this right now and just showing the world what you are as a team. So cool.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like now, about 19 minutes into the recording, that it does feel like a good time to go ahead and switch over to the uh, just terrible ending to the game. I felt like you could go terrible ending, or just the bad plays that were made last night that um, Edmonton didn't. I want to say didn't really get away with, but at the same time they definitely got away with one. In which the fact that we'll go ahead and we'll discuss it. But yeah, how about you go ahead and start off with some of it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I love Leon Draisaitl. Like I'm a huge fan of his, and he's always been someone who has not a temper, but he has the element to his game of like a Kachuk, a Bennett, a Vander Kane. I mean, like I'm just naming guys in this series, but Marchand, like all these guys. These guys want to win. They're going to do anything they can to win. And Leon Draisaitl has had his absolute lunch money taken through two games. He's been completely outclassed and dominated by Alexander Barkov. And he was frustrated in game one, and his frustration continued into game two, and then it boiled over. And he lost the control of his emotions for a moment and jumps off the ice, Jacob Trouba style, flying forearm shiver right into Barkov's jaw. And if you're someone out there who is so blinded by fandom and delusional, and that whatever players are wearing your logo can do no wrong, and you think that that was clean, not intended to hurt, or three, Barkov is somehow faking that, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing I can say that will change your mind because you're just living in a fantasy land and denial, and you cannot see reason, and that's concerning. So I encourage you to try to be unbiased if you're one of those people, but there's nothing else I really have to say to those type of people, because you're just a crazy person and will continue to be. Um, we will see what the state of Barkov is on Thursday. I think the news today, while cryptic, I want to say it's encouraging. I don't know if you got a chance to, if you could pull up the Maurice quote
Yes, I
exactly,
have it
because I don't
right
want to get it
here.
wrong. Yeah, I think it's encouraging, but it's so hard to tell in the NHL. I mean, not to be dramatic here, but I was telling people, I think the best case scenario would be a broken jaw, because that means there's a potential for him to play. If it's a concussion, then he's not playing in game three, probably not in game four, and maybe not even game five if there is one. Which, I mean, if he doesn't play, there's a greater possibility that there would be a game five. But if it's a broken jaw, then at least there's a chance that he could play through the pain like Chara did in 2019 and put on a bubble, and just gut it out, which would be so iconic. I honestly have goosebumps thinking about that. I mean, just what a moment in Panthers history, hockey history, legacy for Barkov. The list goes on. I could continue on. But then after Maurice's comment today, I don't really know what to make of it. Maybe it isn't as bad as initially thought, and it's something more. I'm not an expert on the jaw of the human body. I saw someone say possibly a TMJ contusion, um, would be possibly what it could be, which would be a best case scenario, and then in that case be something along the lines of he definitely is playing. I mean, how bad he was hurt, and how much pain he was in. To me, it looked pretty apparent that it was some sort of fracture along the jawline. Um, and yeah, I mean, at that point, then you just got to hope he could gut it out. Because they definitely need him out there, and he has frustrated the Oilers. And I think back to last year when Matthew Tkachuk cleans Jack Eichel off the face of the earth with the hit coming across the middle of the ice, and I thought Eichel was done for the series. Comes back on the bench like a couple of shifts later, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like it's like these guys can't die. Like that's just what the pan. Like if Barkov can go, and even if he's in a very limited role, just seeing him on the bench, it's like seeing a ghost out there for the Oilers. Because Leon Draisaitl intentionally tried to take this guy out of the series because he's been dominating him, and he has no other answers. So he lost his cool, and in the biggest moment of his life, did that. Um, One final thing I'll say, I'll kick it to you because I know you have as many thoughts as I do about this. I don't know when the hearing will be. There will be a hearing. I'd be beyond shocked if he got suspended. Not because he shouldn't be suspended. He should certainly be suspended. But the standard we've seen from the NHL Players Safety Association is a joke. So I expect a $5,000 fine. I'd be shocked if it was anything more than that. What they should do at a minimum would be one game. If Barkov's out longer, it should be longer. But like I said, I expect a $5,000 fine. And if that's the case, boy, the Oilers better hope that this is a close game and the Panthers have the cup to focus on in game three and four. Because if it's not, I'd be very concerned for the safety of Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid and possibly others. The Panthers aren't going to take that. You're not going to do that to the Panthers captain with guys like Sam Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk out there. And now there's a difference. I'm not calling for an injury like I saw some people in Boston doing after that happened with Bennett and Marchand. I don't think they should do it, but they will retaliate. Make no mistake about that. It's going to happen. And the only way it's not going to happen is if the game's close and the Panthers are trying to win. But if a game either way gets out of hand, my God, keep your head on a swivel out there if you're Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl, because there are killers on this Panthers team, and um, they I think I said this in the Boston series. We're not going to start it, but if they're going to start it, we're going to finish it, and that's kind of what I think the mantra of this team has been all year, and I certainly think it will be that in Game 3 and 4.
I believe the one thing I don't want to go ahead and do is like say that I never want to see a
No,
guy get injured.
I want
Never
everyone
want
to
to see
be
a player
best
get
on
injured.
best. But
Yes, you ultimately it's the Stanley Cup Finals at this time of year. We should be seeing both teams at their full healthiest, the best teams that we should be seeing. We didn't really see it last year because we had a completely torn apart Ekblad, we had a completely torn apart Montour, Losterinen, Matthew Kachuk, whoever else you want to go ahead and throw in that list, Brad Pagudas, whoever you do. Are we still beating Vegas? Probably not. But if you go ahead and look at this series right now, we were getting it, especially in game one. We got what felt like a fully healthy team and everything. And also, I want to go ahead and give his flowers to go ahead and to Darnell Nurse, who's had a very tough season. He could not get along with Cody Ceci, and the fact that their chemistry and their line was not just playing well at all. They were getting dominated in game one. They were getting dominated last series. Cody Ceci gets benched. Warren Fogle, not Warren Fogle. Desharnais comes into the game instead, and we'll get onto Desharnais later on too, because that's another part, just like Leon Draisaitl. But you go ahead and you also have Darnell Nurse gets injured. And I don't know how many different times during the game last night where the broadcast kept on saying, Nurse is back on the bench, Nurse is back out of the game, Nurse is back
it's
on the
like for
bench,
moral
Nurse is back out of the
support.
game. This guy's, I don't know what he's going through, but this guy consistently tried to go and test out there. And again, these guys are putting their lives on the line, it feels like, every single night. You guys should not be playing. It's simple. They should not be playing. But they are, because they want that one thing that everyone wants to see, them lifting the cup. And I have to go ahead and give credit to Darnell Nurse, because he battled out there to go ahead and keep on coming out and testing out whatever's the injury and whatever the problem is. And it looked like he finished out that game too. So, I mean, that's a battle from him. But now moving on to that, I have the Maurice Barkov, the news that came out this morning, just a little bit ago, like 20, 30 minutes ago, from Jameson Olive. So more from Maurice Barkov. We had some things that needed to be looked at today, and that got looked at. There's nothing sinister there. He kind of passed that. He felt better today. Feels good, but you've got to give it another 24 hours to make sure that he feels strong. And then he also says sinister is used quite regularly with how Maurice speaks. Just like you said, it's rather cryptic because it doesn't say like, oh, it's a jaw injury. It doesn't say it's a concussion. You can't really tell. If it's a concussion, he's not playing game 3. He's just not going to get out of concussion protocol fast enough. I doubt they would send him on a flight to Edmonton that long of a trip with the concussion and the right, not in the right headspace, I would say. I doubt they would risk that kind of thing for Barkov with his type of caliber player. Um, so there's that. And I would say he probably wouldn't even play game 4 with that because, concussions take a while to get out of. Certainly not nearly as long as a broken jaw would. But if it is a broken jaw, he definitely probably would play with that bubble because we've seen him play with the bubble on his helmet. I think he did it once this season too, or maybe it was last year. But he's done it before. He wouldn't be afraid to do it again. But it is rather cryptic because we don't really see. But I would definitely say it's positive, and we'll go ahead and we'll see how he's feeling tomorrow. So feels like the real test comes tomorrow. No matter what that we see, if Barkov doesn't play, we have guys that can go ahead and do the same exact thing that Barkov can do, which is just shut down that line. Honestly, I don't know if I would put that first line out there against them again, but I wouldn't be surprised if we went ahead and just threw out that fourth line and see if we can just not necessarily keep up with McDavid because no one can keep up with McDavid, and especially after the last game with the team that he was having, it showed that you can't keep up with McDavid just too fast to play too close to him. He'll just speed right by you. So if you play him the way like the fourth line likes to play and just sit back, let them do the work, and then go ahead and try to block shots, you're probably going to win that battle. You can also go ahead and throw that third line who's been dominating with Lundell and them out there. I'm sure that would look great to see. So that's certainly an option. But this Panthers team is definitely not out of the water just because they lose Barkov. They're up 2-0 after all. And that's what I have to say about that. And the final thing I go ahead and talk about is just one last thing about the dirty play from Edmonton. That Leon Draisaitl hit, I fully believe that it's out of the ordinary for him. I know he's had a little bit of I know he's had attitude problems with, certainly looking back at interviews when he had that famous quote of "Why are you so pissy?" Or when he got called that or whatever, and that was hilarious and everything. And I don't think that was a thing that was necessarily something that was a normal thing for him. I believe that he just lost his anger and it was in the moment, and that's what happens. But at the same time, you got to look back and you got to see the bigger picture of, hey, if he gets suspended here, he just costed his team a cup potentially. And when you were the star on your team, no matter what, if he's on any other team, he's probably the number one guy on there. But he happens to play with the same as Connor McDavid. So of course, it's still a huge loss for them because he's one of their best players in that second/first line on that power play. He's amazing from the corner, and he's an amazing player. He comes from the same draft class as Reinhart, Bennett, and Ekblad, as we were discussing before. He's incredibly talented, and that's something I don't think we would usually see. But he lost his focus, and he went after Barkov, and it was a dirty hit. It was a dirty play, and there's no excuse for it. There should be a suspension guaranteed. There isn't going to be because he's too much of a star for them to go ahead and let this decide the series. Because realistically, if he gets suspended and Barkov is playing, there's a very good chance that is just series right there. We could see it sweep easily. But I mean, it's still unlikely that he gets suspended because I just doubt it. They wouldn't let it happen, and we're probably going to go ahead and see him get that $5,000 fine, which is still again awful because $5,000 is chump money for them. But that's for a whole nother day and a whole nother podcast episode. And what we're probably going to go ahead and see is the bare minimum happen here. And don't be surprised if we see stuff happen and get out of hand again because this team, the Panthers, aren't going to go ahead and start it. They're not going to go into this game like how Boston did, weak-minded, and start complaining. Matthew Tkachuk was just on ESPN talking about it, and he looked calm, cool, collected. Everyone looks calm, cool, collected. Maurice looked calm, cool, collected. The team's gonna get it past, and Maurice even said, "What happened happened. You can't fight it. You can't let it get the best of you." The team knows what to do. They know if they want to go ahead and get their karma or revenge or whatever you want to say, they're gonna do it by lifting that cup in front of Edmonton's fans if they want to, and this team can. And at this point,
Can you pull up this? Can you go to George Richards on Twitter? I think he just
yeah,
put an update for Barkov.
let me go ahead and see.
Yeah, it's someone just texted me and said something. So I didn't see what the tweet was. It could just be the same thing as what we already discussed. Um,
Coach
yeah,
Bill Murray said Captain Sasha Barkov feels good after Leon Draisaitl hit and used concussion protocol language without saying the words. It's an article. Let me see if I have to pay for this.
yeah,
have to pay for it.
okay. I've heard him use sinister before for like bad, like in terms of like a bad injury. I don't know. It's tough to read in between the lines always with Maurice, but yeah, to kick it back to you, so I just wanted to see if that was something there, but that truthfully, like you were saying, your train of thought would be the sweetest revenge, be to go win two in a row up there and lift it in front of their fans, with hopefully Barkov being out there with the team. So yeah, continue.
I think too. By the way, because this is way too down the line. This series is far from over. We know what McDavid is capable of, so I don't want to go ahead and say, "Oh yeah, we can't wait to be left in that cup soon," because we just can't do that. Because we've seen Edmonton has played with down in the series many times. We already said that before. We already said that we're not going to take it too seriously with just game one, just game two. Even if we go up 3-0, we don't want to go ahead and say it because at the very end of the day, we're not gonna believe what we're seeing until it actually fully happens, and that's what I'm gonna go ahead and keep saying. I don't want to get too cocky in this, but I will go ahead and say, Yeah, it just looks like you said he kind of passed that. It feels good. You got to give it. It does kind of look like it's concussion protocol kind of,
Okay.
which isn't great news. But at the end of the day, um, if he does get past concussion protocol quickly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just very minor of an injury and it just was a would last second, which wouldn't go good for my narrative because my narrative is that Sasha Barkov is dead now and Leon Draisaitl killed him and the Oilers fans are making fun of a dead man.
I was going. I
But
was going for that too. I liked it. I liked it better when it was that. I was hoping he'd just go full Undertaker gif, with the bubble, and then just rip their souls out of their, rip their
can you
hearts out of their
imagine
chest.
like the like everyone's saying like, oh, we have we have our camp, like, oh, Barkov will be a game time decision, whatever. Oh, it's doubtful that he's not going to play. 0.1% chance he'll play. And then like everyone's coming out of the locker room, the lights go dim in Edmonton, and then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, Barkov with a bubble comes out.
Let me paint this picture because I do want to kind of real quickly, as I we don't have too much time left here, but um, so first I think right now, all things aside, all the drama, all this, the whatever's going to happen. Right now, the Panthers' goal is to win one of the next two games. You got to
Yes,
steal one game on the road. That's all that matters right now in the grand scheme of things. Petty rivalries and them trying to injure players aside, that's that's all that matters. Win one of the next two games. So let me paint this picture. We win one of the next two. Game 5 in Florida. Barkov leads the team out. Um, Captain's back. That place might burn to the ground with how loud it's going to be. Um, he comes back, scores a goal in Game 5. Panthers win the cup. That'd just be electric, historic. Um,
Paul
but yeah,
Curry
I mean,
style.
yeah, there's still a lot left to do. But again, you just got to find a win, a way to win one of the next two games here in Edmonton. That's the only goal right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just going up to we already know how Canada is. Canada is very annoying of a place to play at, no matter what place you play in Canada. Besides a certain place that is just beyond insufferable, and it happens to be in a place that starts with a T, Roronto. Uh, but besides that, um, Edmonton's gonna be loud. We know. I mean, just looking too, just watching the game yesterday on the broadcast, them showing outside of Rogers Place, I believe. Rogers
Yeah,
Place.
the
You
moss
can go
pit.
ahead and. By the way, I don't know why there's Canada. What is your obsession with the name of their arenas after Rogers? Like, come
That's
on,
just I
Rogers
saw
Place,
someone say
Rogers
that also.
Arena, Rogers Center. Good lord. Um, and going ahead and seeing like outside of the arena and seeing the entire street crowded with Edmonton Oilers fans, like wow, like as a Panthers fan watching them, like man, that's like Edmonton's been waiting a long time for this too. I mean, you got to remember, like it's been a long journey for them too. For the older people who got to see Gretzky live, you can wait because you got to see the two best players of all time, basically. And but I mean, it's gonna be very loud going to Edmonton. They know how to play hockey. They know how to cheer on their fans. It's gonna be very loud in Edmonton. They know exactly what's on the line here. They're gonna show love for McDavid, and this is gonna be another game where McDavid probably plays 25 minutes again, and every single time he's on the ice is in a speed bias, and the fans are gonna go nuts for it. It's just how it is, and you have to find a way to go ahead and take one of them. And if Barkov's out, it's gonna make it harder. But if Barkov's especially out, then you definitely go from, hey, let's try and finish this off right now in a sweep, and we don't have to worry about it. We can celebrate, and that's it. To all of a sudden, hey, we're losing our captain. Let's sit back. It's fine. Let's take one. All you have to do is take one, go home, finish it off there. It's okay. But at the end of the day, you do just need to go ahead and take one of them because heading to Edmonton, you've already put yourself in a great spot up 2-0. Just take one of these next few games. Oh, it just feels like how it was against Tampa. Just hey, go ahead and play your game. Don't get out of focus. Don't antagonize. Don't make stupid penalties. Don't do anything stupid. Play your game. Take one of them, And if you lose one, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, as long as you win one, it's okay heading back home up 3-1, because that is an amazing opportunity for you to do anything that you want from game 5 to game 6 to whatever's in everything in that game. You put yourself in a good situation. That's what you want your team to be on, is just having a great situation to be with. And if you can win one, you put yourself in a situation where you can go ahead and celebrate in front of your fans. So that's what I would say is, as you said before, this is the most important part.
Yeah. We'll see who gets the last laugh, I guess. It's a lot of hockey left still. Possibly the complexion of the series could change if Barkov does miss extended time, but for right now, I mean, the focus is fully on game 3, winning it, and then if you don't win that, game 4, win one game at a time. They've stayed in the moment all playoffs. I think they will continue to. I got to wrap up here. So let's close out, or you got anything else?
So I want to go ahead and just include one last thought, or two last thoughts actually. One that's gonna be very quick. Desharnais, I honestly hate you more than I hate Draisaitl, because that was the worst thing I've ever seen in a shift ever. Everything you did in that one shift was suspendable, and probably like much suspendable for a while. You speared a player, and in the same shift, you intentionally went after a player's head with your stick. In the same exact shift, you took a penalty for one of them, and you got ejected. You are you're just a liability for your team. You don't deserve to be on the ice, and the only reason why you're on it is because you're on the bench, and you're not a big player. You're not a big guy. I don't know who you think you are, but you're pathetic, Desharnais, and the Panthers know it, and they won't forget about it. So I hate him. And I'll show my bias. I don't care. And then after that, going across that, I want to say something that I found really cool. Two of the people we went to the game with, when I went to the game back in round 1, game 2, Lightning fans, one of them decided, hey, they're going to go ahead and go to the Stanley Cup final game last night. And I think the best part about it was the fact that they are basically now just a huge both of those that the Lightning fans that I went to the game with ended up going to a Stanley Cup final game. With one of them went to game 1, and then he went to game 2 last night. One of them also went to the game 6 against New York too, and all of them have said the same exact thing over and over again. They've said we went to so many Lightning games. They've gone to so many Lightning games in their times. They've never seen a crowd support their team like the Panthers do, and they said they're still Lightning fans for life. But they said that Florida team is just unbelievable, and they said that Florida knows how to put on a hockey game. They know how to treat their crowd, and their crowd knows how to show love to their players and show the support, because they said they've never seen a louder stadium in their lives, which was, or not seen, but heard a louder stadium in their lives. So Florida, you guys are unbelievable. You got Canadians wishing you luck. You got players from Tampa, or not players from Tampa, but people from Tampa wishing you luck. And the Panthers deserve to go ahead and finish this off. And I hopefully we go ahead and take one in Edmonton and can finish it off later on. But we're up 2-0. So let's keep on riding this high, and hopefully it continues.
Yeah. It sucks we're leaving the hockey capital of the world in Florida to go all the way to Edmonton, some dreary city. But we're going to come back with at least one win, maybe more. Maybe we'll come back with something a lot more important. But, man, I mean, I got goosebumps. It really sucks that game 2 had to have such a sour taste in some of our mouths. But, yeah, I mean, that's all. Go get a win in game 3, and my God, this from there, everything's on the table. But with that being said, please, everyone, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you for tuning in, and go Cats go. Yeah.